Waitress's incredible 5-year journey from mockery to heartwarming triumph exposes Billionaire's hidden humanity. In the heart of downtown Chicago, amidst the chaotic symphony of sizzling bacon and clattering ceramic mugs, a humble diner thrived. It was here that Sarah, a 28-year-old waitress, served coffee with a smile so wide it could melt the coldest of hearts. Each day, as regulars took their seats, they shared laughter and stories, knitting a tapestry of life that wrapped around Sarah like a warm blanket. But beneath the diner's warm glow, her dreams simmered on low, practically begging to break free from the shackles of economic disparity. The laughter of upscale patrons echoed mockingly, reminding her that she was just a waitress, not someone destined for greater things. "Sarah, you need to find a better job." Melissa, her older sister, would chide as they sat in their cramped apartment, both concerningly treading water in an endless sea of bills. "You deserve more than this." Each lecture weighed on Sarah's heart like a heavy anchor. Her sister was clearly ambitious, striving for what seemed an elusive standard of success, while Sarah felt bound to her community and the little joys it offered. The people who shared life stories over pancakes were her family, and she wanted to hold on to that warmth fiercely. As the air thickened with tension and the winds of change rustled their way through the neighborhood, a tragedy struck. A local bakery burned down, leaving families reeling. But instead of despairing, neighbors rushed in to help one another, forming a bond that was a testament to the spirit of community. In that moment, Sarah realized that their connection was worth more than just dreams of escape. It was a lifeline. Determined to make her mark, Sarah decided to open a little handcrafted goods stand on weekends. She poured her heart into it, presenting handmade mugs and quirky keychains, each one a reflection of her vibrant spirit. Unfortunately, despite her best efforts, her dreams crumbled, leaving her surrounded by unsold goods and mounting bills. Standing among her unsold creations, the weight of failure felt like a lead blanket smothering her completely. Then, on a busy Tuesday morning, as steam rose from cups of coffee, a high-profile billionaire named Michael stepped into the diner. He was handsome, with an air of confidence that turned heads. As he ordered coffee, their eyes locked. There was something about his presence, the way he didn't look down at her, but rather directly into her soul. "There is something special about you," he said, making Sarah's heart skip a beat. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Their conversations turned into a friendship, each sharing pieces of their worlds. Michael admired her resilience, while Sarah was fascinated by the depth beneath his wealth. But the divide between their lives loomed large. One day, a confrontation erupted in the diner. Affluent customers were baffled by their connection, casting judgment on Sarah. Tension thickened in the air, her community torn between cheering her on or questioning her values as whispers echoed around her. Just when Sarah thought she had found a way to the dream she had always envisioned, the real battle began. Balancing ambition with loyalty was harder than she thought. She found herself on the brink of making a choice that could tear her world apart, a decision that would either lift her up or unravel the fabric of her tight-knit community. Would she be able to navigate this storm, or would it swallow her whole? As the sun dipped below the horizon, the diner glowed warmly, cradled in the arms of the Chicago evening. With every clang of a cup and the hum of conversation, Sarah felt the weight of her choice clinging to her like a heavy coat. Could she really take a chance on something bigger, something that could potentially pull her from the comfort of her cozy diner and the love of her community? Her heart raced when she thought of Michael. He had been her anchor in a tumultuous sea. Although outsiders questioned their bond, Michael saw more than a waitress. He saw her dreams, her passion, and the fire that ignited within her when she spoke about her handcrafted goods. He encouraged her to expand, to consider online platforms where her art could reach more than just the regulars at the diner. But stepping into this new world felt like stepping off a cliff without knowing if a net awaited her at the bottom. the following day, she found herself in front of her sewing machine, inching her way toward revamping her designs. She had emptied her heart into each piece, hoping that if she poured enough passion into her work, it would bear the fruits of success. Mixed with fear, excitement coursed through her veins. Sarah knew that it was time to push her boundaries, but how? She sat at her tiny table, ill-marked with the rings of coffee cups and scratches from her doodles. Outside, the world bustled. The laughter of children playing, couples walking hand in hand, all served as reminders of the life she desired. Could she really reach for something that had always felt out of reach? It was one thing to dream, it was another to put that dream on display for everyone to see. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from Michael. "I believe in you, Sarah. Let us brainstorm this weekend." His words were a balm, and she could almost hear his voice, warm and supportive. Each message filled her with resolve, reminding her that she was not alone in this journey, even if they came from two very different worlds. That weekend, with nerves twisting her stomach, Sarah arrived at the coffee shop they'd chosen. The familiar aroma hit her first, but it was the sight of Michael, his easy smile and confident demeanor, that really ignited a sense of purpose inside her. As they discussed potential designs and marketing strategies, Sarah could feel her fears begin to dissipate. For the first time, she was allowing herself to imagine success not just for herself, but for all the people in her community who had scrimped and saved to buy her creations. Their collaboration sparked laughter and ideas, but deeper questions soon surfaced. "Are you ready for the possible backlash?" Michael asked, his voice taking on a serious tone. Sarah scoffed initially. She didn't want to entertain the thought of resentment from her community, but the reality clawed at her. Could her ambition alienate her from the very people who raised her up? The moment felt heavy, and in that silence, a flicker of doubt crept in. She held her breath, scanning his expression, seeking reassurance. Would they understand her desire to bloom beyond the diner, or would it be seen as an act of betrayal? Feeling the weight of expectation, Sarah made a decision. She would first share her plans with Melissa and the other regulars at the diner. They deserved to be part of this journey, and she wanted to ensure they understood it wasn't just about personal gain, it was about representing them, too. But as she prepared to face them, a sudden thought gripped her. What if they turned on her? As the diner filled with familiar faces that evening, her pulse quickened. Would they support her dreams, or would fear of change begin to fracture their tight-knit community? The uncertainty loomed larger than she had ever imagined. With her heart in her throat, she took a deep breath, ready to share her truth. Would they embrace her courage, or would this be the beginning of her unraveling? The diner buzzed with laughter and conversation, but Sarah felt a strange stillness as she sat at the counter. The familiar faces around her were the embodiment of her life so far, the people who had cheered her on during difficult moments, the ones she poured her heart into every day. She took a moment to breathe, her fingers brushing nervously against the polished countertop. Melissa, her longtime friend, was the first to notice the change in Sarah's demeanor. With a gentle smile, she leaned closer. "You okay, Sarah? You look like you've seen a ghost." Sarah's heart raced. "I have something important to share," she managed, her voice barely above a whisper. The room quieted, ears perked up, eyes fixed on her. A knot tightened in her stomach. "Life is changing for me," she began, choosing her words carefully. "I've been thinking about expanding my craft, maybe selling online, taking it further than just the diner." She dared to catch Melissa's gaze, searching for encouragement. "Wait, really? That's amazing." Melissa's eyes sparkled, and a ripple of murmur passed through the crowd. But Sarah couldn't ignore the flicker of apprehension crossing a few faces. "But what about us?" snapped Ben, another regular. His voice was laced with concern. "You're not leaving us behind, are you?" "No. Not at all," Sarah exclaimed, desperation creeping into her voice. "I want to bring the diner with me. Everything I create is inspired by all of you. This is about sharing our community with the world, not leaving it." A tense silence enveloped the room. Sarah's heart hammered loudly as she watched their reactions closely. What if it fails? Rumbled Eric, a reserved man who often sat at the far end, nursing his coffee. You know how people can be. I understand how people think, Sarah replied, frustration creeping into her tone. But this is my chance to grow. I don't want to stay safe forever. I want to show everyone what we can do together. A younger woman, Lily, who often spent her days doodling in her notebook, raised her hand shyly. But what if we don't like it? What if it changes everything? Sarah's heart sank. Change had always been an undercurrent in their conversations, rife with both excitement and dread. The diner had always felt like a refuge. Would expanding her reach shake its foundations? Change is scary, I know, she said softly, sensing their fears reflected in her own. But growth doesn't mean losing what we have. Think of it as a way to show others the love and creativity that's born here, in this diner. We can make something beautiful and still keep our roots. Slowly, she saw understanding begin to flicker in their eyes. They had built a life together, shared laughter, tears, and dreams. She hoped they would see this as a chance to amplify their shared story, not as a betrayal. I believe in you, Melissa said, her voice carrying warmth and affection. Others began to nod, murmurs of agreement chiming softly. But there were still a few skeptical glances. I don't want you to forget us, Ben said quietly, the challenge still evident in his voice. I could never forget you, Sarah replied firmly, her voice steady with conviction. This is our journey. As she finished speaking, the weight of uncertainty hung in the air, thick yet lighter now that she had shared her truth. The diner felt charged, everyone gauging their own thoughts, processing the reality of what she was proposing, but as they took a moment to come to terms with her announcement, Sarah's phone buzzed an alert that sent a new wave of anxiety crashing over her. It was a message from Michael indicating he had a lead on a potential partner for her craft. The timing felt too heavy, her dreams were stirring but could be disrupted by choices she hadn't fully made yet. Let's brainstorm this together, she said finally, her heart racing, anticipating the discussions that lay ahead. All she could think was, how could she balance the rising anticipation of her dreams with the community she didn't want to lose? Sarah glanced around the diner, a rush of determination and self-doubt swirling inside her. It was just a leap of faith, really, but now she had to focus on the path ahead. What partnerships and challenges awaited her? The answers remained just out of reach as she stood on the precipice of change, and she couldn't help but wonder, was this the dawn of something incredible, or the beginning of her unraveling? Sarah felt her heart racing, her palms damp against the counter. The diner that had always felt like home now seemed like a stage, and she was the lone actor facing an audience of familiar faces. Their expressions varied from excitement to skepticism, each one echoing her own inner turmoil. Okay, so what are the first steps? Melissa broke the silence, her voice a beacon of hope. Before Sarah could answer, Eric leaned forward, still frowning. Breaking into a market isn't easy. Have you thought about the logistics? Inventory, shipping, marketing? Those words hit Sarah hard. She had envisioned crafting beautiful pieces and letting them fly into the world, but the reality of managing such a venture suddenly felt overwhelming. Deep breath, she reminded herself, pushing against the rising tide of panic. I haven't figured everything out yet, but I know I need to start small. Maybe just a few items to test the waters, Sarah replied, her voice steadier than she felt. It could happen through social media and local events. We could use this diner, our space, as a launchpad. The mention of using the diner sparked whispers of conversation, a few faces lit up with the possibility. Sarah seized the moment. What if we have a kickoff event? We can showcase everything we're about: food, art, and community. A way to welcome everyone to our story. Lily's eyes sparkled with excitement. That's a great idea. We could have local musicians, maybe even art displays. The energy in the room shifted. Suddenly, the air buzzed with the thrill of possibility. Plans started emerging, ideas exchanged with each turn of conversation, everyone drawing closer together. But then came a voice from the back, quiet yet distinct. "But what happens when you're no longer here, Sarah?" Ben's question cut through the chatter, the weight of it striking a chord. "I know you say you want to forget us, but what if you get too caught up in all this?" The laughter and formed plans stifled, replaced by the muted hum of reality. Would she really still belong here if she managed to break out into new horizons? Sarah hesitated, searching for words that could somehow soothe him. "I promise to keep this diner as my heart. It'll always be our starting point, our home base." The sincerity in her voice met with a mix of worry and encouragement. Eric broke the silence again, this time softer. "Maybe we could help you. Like volunteers. We could run the social media pages, maybe craft the promotional materials." The thought brought warmth to her chest. "That would mean so much to me. This is about all of us, and together we can make it work." Just then, her phone buzzed again, this time an image from Michael showcasing a contact he had made at a local market. He was brightening her hopes with tangible options, but now she felt the weight of expectations on her shoulders. "All right, let's make a list of what we need, and we'll tackle one thing at a time." Outlining what they needed sent her spiraling into a whirlwind of ideas, but doubt still lingered at the back of her mind. What if this plan unraveled? What if she couldn't manage to create the bloom she envisioned? The atmosphere buzzed with newfound energy, shifting from reservation to participation as they worked together, brainstorming ideas that could shape a future she only recently dared to dream about. Yet, as they began to make plans, a different urgency gnawed at her, a revelation looming just beyond the horizon. The partnership with Michael might not be the only collaboration on the table. Wait, she thought suddenly, could I rely on the diner community to not just support my dreams, but to be part of something bigger? From the corner of the diner, she caught sight of a couple entering, and their fleeting smiles reminded her of days spent building relationships. Was it truly possible to mold their diner dreams into something much greater, to redefine their connections and experiences into a new venture? Questions swirled in her mind as laughter and conversation returned, her heart quickening with the mix of anxiety and excitement. The night had become electric with possibility, but as she took a deep breath, Sarah pondered, what if the risks she took now led her to unexpected places where dreams collided with fear, bursting into something beautiful? Her phone buzzed one last time, a notification from Michael for an unscheduled meeting tomorrow. And she thought, would this next step define everything, or unravel it all? As the diner buzzed with conversations, Sarah's mind raced. She glanced at the phone, feeling a pulse of anticipation mixed with dread. Michael's message seemed to promise opportunity, yet it felt heavier than that, like the weight of a secret she wasn't ready to bear alone. "Hey, did you just check your phone?" Melissa's voice broke through Sarah's thoughts. She shook her head, forcing a smile. "Not yet, but I'll read it shortly," she lied, wanting nothing more than to keep the moment light. Lily and Eric were already deep in conversation about what kinds of art exhibits they could showcase. What about local talent? The high school art club could provide great pieces, Lily suggested enthusiastically. That could draw more people in, Eric nodded. A community vibe, it's attractive. Sarah felt a warmth spreading inside. They were rallying around her idea, each person contributing pieces to a puzzle that felt like it could become something beautiful. And yet, the shadow of doubt lurked. Was it enough? "Okay, so we need to think about budgeting this event," Sarah interjected, trying to focus. "If we're doing this, we'll need supplies, maybe some giveaways to draw people in." The plans took on momentum again, the excitement morphing into tangible tasks that felt possible. Ben, who had shrunk into quietness after speaking earlier, raised his hand hesitantly. I could handle the flyers. I've got some good software at home." "Great. And I can help you," Melissa offered, her eyes brightening. Before Sarah knew it, they were jotting down lists: art supplies, promotional materials, musicians to contact. The evening transformed, laughter mingling with ideas, faces glowing in the harsh diner lights like small lamps against the uncertainty. But amidst the laughter, Sarah's heart ached with a truth she hadn't yet faced. What if this dream pulled her away, forged a gap where once there was warmth? Her heart ached not for the diner alone, but for the family they deformed among the clinking plates and steaming coffee. "Guys, I'm really thankful for your help," she said suddenly, her voice cutting through the chatter. "It means everything that you all believe in me." They smiled, a wave of encouragement washing over her. Yet the smile faded when she recalled Ben's question: what if her journey led her away from them? Would she be brave enough to march forward if it meant walking away? Just then, the front door swung open, and a gust of cool evening air swept in, followed by an unexpected guest, Michael. His presence felt sudden, energetically electrifying the room. He spotted Sarah, and a confident smile broke across his face. "I figured I'd catch you all brainstorming. Hope I'm not interrupting." "Not at all. We were just discussing the launch event," Sarah greeted him, her stomach tightening as she considered how to tread into murky waters without losing their trust. "Sounds exciting. How re the plans?" he asked, pulling out a chair and joining the group, his poised demeanor exuding an aura of ambition and purpose. Sarah took a deep breath. "Well, actually, we're hoping to include local artists, musicians, and build a community spotlight." Michael's brows raised in intrigue. "That's a smart angle. Community-centric initiatives are all the rage. You could even partner with local businesses for sponsorship." As he spoke, ideas whirled in Sarah's mind. Could this man become the bridge she'd need to forge connections outside the diner? More than just an ally in business, he could help them create something deeper, a network of support that extended beyond the walls of this beloved place. But as they discussed options, a flicker of doubt crept back. Was she ready to intertwine her future with someone who moved effortlessly in a world of opportunity? As Michael leaned forward, passionately outlining his thoughts, Sarah's heart felt torn. Would this meeting lead her closer to her dreams or expose cracks she was yet to acknowledge? The delicious smell of coffee mingled with the fragrant air of possibility in the diner, but her heart couldn't shake the questions hanging heavy. Like dark clouds. Could they build this together, or was the spark she felt a mere reflection of her own need for connection? Sarah's phone buzzed once more, snapping her focus back. Yet, instead of clarity, it deepened her uncertainty. What would this unexpected partnership mean for them all? Sarah looked at her phone, her heart racing. Another message from Michael. She hesitated, taking in the energy in the room, the excitement of her friends mixing with her own inner turmoil. Michael was smart and forward-thinking, a force pushing her towards what seemed like a brighter future. But was he also a risk? She knew the diner represented safety and love, while this potential leap felt like stepping into the unknown. "Sarah?" Melissa's voice brought her back from her thoughts. "Are you okay?" Flashing an uncertain smile, Sarah replied, "Yeah, just thinking about our next steps." She could see the concern in Melissa's eyes, a mirror to her own fears. "Let us not keep it just to artists and music," Ben piped in, his voice low but gaining strength. "We could involve local businesses more. Maybe some food sponsors. If they see benefit in being part of the community showcase." His words poured out with the kind of enthusiasm that warmed Sarah's heart. "Exactly," Eric added, his eyes lighting up. "Think about it. Everyone wins. They get exposure, we get resources. It's a win-win." Right. But Sarah started, trying to push past the fog of doubt. "What if we can't manage it all?" Michael leaned in, engaging her directly. "You'll never know unless you try. Running a community event can feel overwhelming, but isn't that just part of the journey? It's bold moves like this that lead to exciting outcomes." His words were like a challenge, igniting something deep inside her. Did she really want to be bold? The thought was both exhilarating and terrifying. "Let us brainstorm together," Lily suggested, paper and pencils sliding across the table. "What do we want to achieve?" Who do we want to be? As they began jotting down ideas, Sarah felt the weight of Michael's gaze on her. Was it praise? Or was there something else lurking behind those clear, focused eyes? The thought made her skin warm and her heart race. While the group buzzed with excitement around her, each idea sparking more energy, Sarah felt a schism forming within herself. She wanted to hold on to these moments of connection, but a part of her whispered that opportunity could take her far beyond the walls of this diner. They created a list of community flyer, music genres, possible sponsors, advertising strategies. Her friends were motivated, and their belief in her felt intoxicating. Yet reality tugged at her. What if this took her away? What if chasing a dream meant losing them? As if reading her thoughts, Melissa reached across the table and squeezed her hand reassuringly. No matter what happens, we're in this together, she said softly. We believe in you. But don't forget that you have a home here. Sarah smiled, appreciating the sentiment even if uncertainty lingered. But what would it mean when the diner no longer satisfied her yearning for growth? Would she leave behind not just a place, but a part of herself? Just then, Michael pulled out a small notebook. Okay, let's talk financing and outreach, he said eagerly. I can help you draft a couple of proposals. He immediately shifted the energy, and they lost themselves in discussions again. The laughter grew louder, the ideas more ambitious, but Sarah felt the gnawing doubt slip back into the cracks of her mind. How far was she willing to go? Suddenly, the diner's door swung open for a second time, and in walked familiar faces, people from the community, curious about the lighting and the lively chatter, drawn back into the warmth of the diner's embrace. In moments, there was life all around them, and the atmosphere thickened with anticipation. There was something electric in the air, but alongside it was the nagging fear that this was only just a preview. Sarah took a deep breath, knowing that regardless of her choice, the stakes felt higher than ever. She turned to Michael and caught his eye, searching for answers. What was this new road leading them to? The air crackled with potential, but she'd need to ask herself one daunting question: was she ready to forge ahead and risk it all? In that moment, the weight of limbo settled heavily within her, and she couldn't help but wonder what lay on that horizon: an exhilarating dream or a painful goodbye. The room pulsed with conversations, the energy roaring as new faces joined the gathering. Sarah felt a whirl of excitement and anxiety, as if the very walls of the diner were closing in while simultaneously opening up a world of possibilities. She watched people from all walks of life come together, and it struck her how the diner had become more than a mere backdrop for her life. It was a living testament to connection, community, and the dreams they all shared, yet still, doubt lingered in her core. She glanced at Michael, who was now passionately expounding on the pros and cons of various sponsorship strategies. The way his hands moved animatedly added a charm to the otherwise muted atmosphere. As he spoke, he seemed to glow with conviction, and for a moment, Sarah was drawn into that light. Could stepping into that sparkle bring her the courage she craved? Sarah. What do you think? Lily's voice broke through her reverie, pulling her back into the conversation. The team was looking at her, their eyes eager with expectation. Yeah, absolutely. I think we need to focus on bringing in local businesses, she said, forcing enthusiasm into her voice. Maybe even set up a tasting event to pair local dishes with the music. Create a whole experience. Cheers erupted from the group, and Sarah felt a rush of warmth. For a heartbeat, the weight on her shoulders felt lighter. Perfect. Ben exclaimed, we can showcase local chefs, make it a real culinary experience. It'll give them exposure while putting our community on the map. As ideas flowed, each voice added texture to this growing vision. Yet, deep down, the thought of leaving the diner behind loomed heavily. Would they view her differently if she ventured beyond? Would the friendships forged in late-night shifts and endless cups of coffee survive the changes that lay ahead? Anxiety prickled at her skin, but she dismissed those feelings for a moment, choosing to focus on the excitement igniting her friends. Then came the moment that caused the room to fall silent. The door swung open again, this time with an unexpected presence. A well-dressed man, distinctly confident, stepped in. Conversations hushed as he scanned the room, curiosity flickering in his eye. The man was a stark contrast to the diner's cozy vibe, emanating both power and intimidation. "Excuse me," he said, his voice clear and commanding, "I overheard you all talking about a community showcase." The group collectively shifted, surprised yet intrigued. Sarah's heart raced. This was unexpected. What could someone like him want with their small-town ambitions? "What do you have in mind?" Michael began, stepping forward, uncharacteristically unfazed. The man's interest sparked something in Sarah, a kernel of opportunity wrapped in the brightness of uncertainty. "I'm interested in helping turn your ideas into reality," the man replied, leaning casually against the counter. "My organization invests in community initiatives, and it sounds like you all are brewing something significant here." Sarah felt a rush of nervous energy as the reality struck her. Could this be the beginning of something transformative? A connection that could bridge their dreams with tangible resources? But then the whispers of insecurity began to creep back. What did that mean for her and her friends? Would they retain their tight-knit bond, or would this man's involvement change everything? Caught between exhilaration and fear, she glanced at Melissa, wanting assurance, hoping to find a semblance of clarity in her friend's unwavering support. But in that moment, Melissa looked just as perplexed as Sarah felt. The diner buzzed, filled with potential but steeped in uncertainty. Every decision, every moment counted, and the stakes felt higher than ever. If she followed this path, what would she leave behind? And if she chose to stay, would she lose the chance to soar? The question loomed before her, heavy but bright, pushing her to confront the truth she had long avoided. What if saying yes tonight meant more than just an opportunity? What if it meant claiming her place in a narrative far bigger than herself? As she stood at this precipice, grappling with excitement and dread alike, Sarah knew that the decision in front of her could redefine everything, not just for her but for everyone she loved. Where would that path lead? And would she dare step forward into the unknown? The well-dressed man leaned closer, the curiosity glinting in his eyes almost magnetic. "You're all passionate about your community," he said, gauging their reactions. "I believe we can make this festival something unforgettable. But first," he paused dramatically, "I need to know what you're truly willing to invest in this vision." Sarah held her breath. The weight of his gaze felt like an awakening and a burden at once. "What do you mean?" she blurted, nerves spilling into her voice. "I want your commitment. Your passion. I can provide funds and systems, but the heart of this project has to come from you." Glancing around the room, Sarah could feel the tension ripple. Her friends, once animated and lively, were now frozen with either excitement or trepidation. Michael looked contemplative, while Lily's brow furrowed in concern. "What kind of commitment?" Sarah asked, knowing this wasn't just a casual chat over coffee anymore. "Time, ideas, heart. We can meet regularly to brainstorm and strategize. You will lead this project, and your community will follow your lead. But it will take a lot of work," he replied, his voice smooth yet firm. "Why us? Why now?" Ben took a step forward, skepticism shaping his words. "Because you have something that traditional investors look for: authenticity. The spirit of a community that pulls together for something bigger than just individual success. That sparks interest." His words ignited a flicker of hope in Sarah. Could she really lead something this significant? Was she ready to step into a role that could elevate not just the diner but also their entire community? But her insecurities clawed at her once more. "What if we fail?" She heard Melissa whisper beside her, the fear echoing in Sarah's heart. What if all this excitement led to disappointment? How would she handle it if everything fell apart? Would it shatter the bonds that had held them so closely together? "Failure is part of progress," the man interjected, sensing the doubt. "It drives innovation. More important than the results are the lessons learned along the way." Sarah looked into the faces of her friends. They embodied the hope and love that had bloomed in this little diner. Her fears felt more distant when she thought about the laughter and dreams they shared during those late-night shifts. They had stood by one another when things went wrong, offering support and wisdom. It was the family they had built together. "We can do this," Sarah said, her voice growing firmer as she drew strength from their collective energy. "We can create something beautiful." A trickle of anticipation moved through the room, igniting her spirit. Accepting the challenge meant more than just stepping out of her comfort zone. It meant embracing the potential to transform not only her own life but also the lives of everyone in this community. However, along with the excitement came an undeniable fear. "All right," she took a deep breath, "let us do it. Let us build something we can all be proud of." Applause erupted, alongside a surge of energy that swept through the diner. She felt the warmth of their combined enthusiasm envelop her like a cozy blanket. In that moment, she was no longer shackled by her doubts. Instead, she was fueled by hope. "Let us meet next week to discuss the details." The man clapped his hands. "We'll lay out our framework, and I'll connect you with some local businesses interested in sponsorship. This is the first big step." But as cheers erupted around her, a cold shiver of anxiety slithered up her spine. Was she truly ready for this? Was she ready for the responsibilities, the decisions that could shift everything? As her friends celebrated, Sarah looked out the window at the dimming sky. A part of her still hesitated. What if embracing this opportunity meant she would have to risk everything she already held dear? What would she sacrifice for this dream, for this chance to truly become a leader in her community? Suddenly, the future felt like a vast ocean, and she was just a small boat, not sure how to navigate the waves ahead. With determination and fear intertwining in her heart, Sarah whispered to herself, "What lies ahead truly matters." Would she find the strength to face whatever storm awaited her? The following week arrived quicker than Sarah had anticipated. The air buzzed with excitement, yet uncertainty hung around her like a cloak. She had spent the last few days tossing around ideas in her mind, but now that the moment was here, she felt jittery. What if her ideas weren't good enough? What if they stumbled out into the open like delicate glass figures, only to shatter under the weight of criticism? The diner was practically buzzing with energy. Sarah arrived early, her heart racing as she put on her apron, the familiar fabric offering a semblance of comfort amid the whirlwind of change. She took a deep breath and closed her eyes for a moment, trying to ground herself. This was her space, a place filled with laughter, friendships, and dreams, and no matter what unfolded today, it would always be home. As her friends trickled in, each face carried a mix of gratitude and trepidation. Michael was the first to arrive, his usual easy smile replaced by an expression of deep thought. "You ready for this, Sarah?" he asked, his brows slightly furrowed. "I guess we have to be," she replied, forcing a smile, but inside, her stomach twisted like a pretzel. The well-dressed man entered, and the energy shifted. He strolled to the center of the diner, exuding an air of authority. "Thank you for gathering today. Excitement is in the air. Let us harness that energy and create something monumental." Sarah glanced around the room. Her friends were gathered, sharing whispers and hopeful glances. She could feel the weight of their trust resting heavily upon her shoulders. The man outlined the steps and expectations, a fluid stream of instructions that felt almost overwhelming. When it was her turn to speak, her voice seemed to echo unnaturally against the walls. "We need to reflect our community in everything we do. What we create should resonate with the values and stories we hold dear. It's not just about the festival itself, but about bringing people together," she said, her heart hammering more with each word. The group nodded, and for a few moments, excitement flourished like a soft fire. Ideas flew across the table: food trucks featuring family recipes, local artisans showcasing crafts, even a talent show for the kids. The room came alive, laughter intertwining with the budding plans. They felt like a real team, like family. However, Sarah's joy was tinged with doubt. What if we drop the ball? She couldn't help but think. Doubts whispered relentlessly. Memories of past failures crept into her mind, making her consider the possibility of facing failure in front of her friends, the good people she didn't want to let down. Just as the conversation reached a crescendo, Lily raised her hand, her voice steady yet quiet. "Can I ask something?" The room fell silent. What if we're too ambitious? What if it all becomes too much? Sarah felt a chill wash over her. That reality hit hard. The concept of failure that had loomed large in her mind now crystallized into a worry shared by all. Lily's right, Ben added, we need to ensure we're not overwhelming ourselves. But Sarah remembered the laughter they had shared, the resolve they had shown together over countless late-night shifts. Look, I understand that fear. But every great achievement comes with risks. We hold this community's spirit in our hands. If we believe in each other, we won't let this slip away, she urged, her voice rising with passion. The room felt electric with a surge of unity. Suddenly, the collective vision seemed within reach, illuminated by a newfound light. They were all on the edge of something big, ready to leap together into the unknown. As the meeting wound down and ideas transformed into passionate plans, Sarah couldn't shake the lingering trepidation. What lay ahead brimmed with both joy and chaos, a wild mix of triumph and trepidation. Are we truly ready for this? She whispered to herself, as her heartbeat drummed in her ears, the anticipation heavy and confusing, but as she locked eyes with her friends, their determination mirrored back at her like a beacon. They could face whatever came next, together. And still, the thought lingered. What if the challenges they faced would change everything they knew? What if, for all their dreams, the journey ahead was more than they could handle? With those thoughts swirling, Sarah couldn't help but wonder what awaited them in the days ahead. The sun rose over Chicago, casting a golden hue through the diner's windows, illuminating the faces of those who had gathered. It felt like a new era. Sarah stood behind the counter, her heart fluttering with anticipation and nerves. Today was the day. Their community festival was set to launch, created out of dreams, sweat, and late-night brainstorming sessions. As the doors swung open, warmth spilled in. Her regulars piled in, smiles spreading across familiar faces, shaping Sarah's world like the art she loved to create. They were the heartbeat of the diner, the reasons behind her hustle. She took a deep breath, grounding herself in the essence of it all. This day was not just about her, it was about them. The diner buzzed with activity. Tables were decked with handmade banners, promoting local artisans, musicians, and everything they had worked so hard to cultivate. Each corner echoed with laughter, the sweet sense of coffee and breakfast mingling in the air, inviting everyone to feel at home. Sarah's heart swelled. This was their moment. Sarah. Melissa called, bustling around with a clipboard. We're getting the performers set up. Local school groups and some solo artists, everyone wants to contribute. The excitement in Melissa's voice was contagious. It cleared the remnants of doubt that had nestled in Sarah's mind over the past few weeks. They were all in this together, every person fueling the light of their community spirit, igniting the very purpose behind today's event. Let's make sure everything is ready. Sarah replied, her voice ringing with newfound confidence. She spotted Lily guiding young musicians while Eric helped set up food stations with local vendors. The sight filled her heart with gratitude. Their trust in her had blossomed into something tangible, enriching their bonds even further. As the afternoon sun began to dip, illuminating the sky with shades of orange and pink, the festival kicked off. People flocked to the diner, excitement thrumming through the air. Freshly prepared dishes from local favorites and inventive outfits crafted by neighborhood talent filled the space. Each moment was marked by a sense of unity, a testament to what they could achieve by sticking together. Yet, as she buzzed around the festival with plates of food and smile after genuine smile, a gentle tension still echoed in the back of her mind. This was a risk, a chance to turn dreams into reality, but it also meant stepping away from what she had always known. Would this truly bridge the gap between her dreams and the community that nurtured them? Just as she thought this, Michael appeared. His confident presence radiated hope. Sarah. He called, catching her attention. She felt a rush of nerves and warmth as he approached. They're loving what you've created here. The engagement is through the roof. This is what you envisioned, right? It is. I can't believe it's actually happening, she replied, her heart pounding. But it still feels like, if I'm stepping away from the diner's comfort, is it worth it? The words tumbled out, laced with vulnerability. Michael studied her for a moment before replying, "You're not stepping away from anything. You're expanding. This is just the beginning. Your passion has brought people together. Just look around." He gestured towards the crowd, where laughter intertwined like melodies, creating a beautiful symphony of voices. The weight of his words settled in her heart. They weren't only here for the festival, they were becoming partners in something extraordinary, something that would weave this community together in new ways. Perhaps she could cultivate her identity without losing any part of herself. With renewed courage, Sarah stepped onto the small stage set up outside the diner. As the crowd hushed, she felt every gaze, every expectant face staring back at her. Suddenly, everything clicked. This was her moment. To speak not just for herself, but for everyone who helped forge this path. "Hi everyone. I want to thank you all for coming out today," she began, her voice echoing with sincerity. "This isn't just my dream, it's ours. Each handmade piece, every warm plate of food serves to hold a piece of our community's heart. Our stories connect us, and together, we can achieve great things." Cheers erupted from the audience, gratitude swelling around her. In that moment, every fear melted away, leaving only sheer joy. Sarah smiled, tears shimmering in her eyes, but they were tears of joy, a realization that she had already become part of something so much larger than herself. As the first notes of a local band filled the air, laughter and dancing blended into the evening sky. The diner's community had taken a leap with her, and that bond felt as solid as any foundation she could lay. Sarah didn't just look at the diner as her tether, she saw it as a beacon from which she could shine even brighter. Looking around at her friends, her family, the familiar faces that hard work had brought together, she knew she had crafted something beautiful. It wasn't merely about her ambitions anymore, it was about them thriving together. As the festival unfolded, conversations bubbling like the coffee they all loved, Sarah felt a gentle peace settle over her. She understood that the journey ahead may not always be smooth, but she could trust in the love and unity they had built. They were a formidable force, each one lending colors to a canvas that would keep expanding with every new dream, every moment shared. Sarah held her heart high, watching the crowd pulse with energy. They had taken that leap together, from the protective walls of the diner into the rich world outside, forever transformed. With her voice ringing in the air and laughter echoing in her heart, she thought, "This is just the beginning." And in that thought, a single urge surged through her like the call of the wind. This was the moment to inspire others to chase their own dreams. Sarah smiled wide, a resolute heart beating proudly within. That evening, when the last notes lingered and the final dishes were cleared, she understood that with risk comes love, and with love comes strength. A new chapter awaited them all. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories, leave a like now to feed the algorithm, comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.